The hotel suite was overflowing with color. By the time Evan finished carrying the last bag inside, Mia had run around the room at least 10 times, squealing over every balloon, every ribbon, every glittery decoration, like she was afraid someone might snatch it away before she could touch it. And Aria? She looked like someone standing in a dream she wasn't sure she was allowed to have. The man who only hours ago called himself a nobody father was suddenly turning a luxury suite into a fairy tale kingdom, just so his daughter could feel special for one day. Just so she could forget the years she spent feeling unwanted. Just so her little girl could smile without fear. Aria watched Evan hang a shimmering banner on the wall. "Happy birthday, Mia." Printed in glittery gold letters so bright they looked like sunlight. Then she felt it again, the ache in her chest. The dangerous, terrifying ache. Because the more she learned about this man, the harder it became to believe he was a stranger. "Aria, can you help me with the dress display?" Evan asked, nodding toward the open suitcase where the little princess gowns were folded neatly inside. Aria knelt down. "You bought all of these just for today?" He rubbed the back of his neck. "Honestly? I had no idea what girls like. So I bought everything." Aria laughed, soft, uncontrollable, and genuine. She held up a sparkly lilac gown, the kind embroidered with tiny stars. "Evan. This must have cost you." "Doesn't matter," he cut in. "I'd spend every cent I have if it means she won't remember the birthdays her mother forgot." Aria's laughter faded. There it was again. That quiet, broken truth he kept trying to hide. She folded the dress carefully. "You're a good father." He blinked like the words were painful to hear. "The kind of father who shows up," she added. "That's rare." Evan didn't answer. Instead, he stepped away, busied himself inflating balloons. Aria understood. Sometimes compliments hurt more than insults. Especially when you're used to believing you don't deserve them. Mia twirled toward them wearing a small tiara Aria had unpacked earlier. "Daddy, Mommy, look." Aria froze. Evan froze harder. But Mia didn't seem to realize what she said. She only giggled and ran off to admire herself in the mirror. Aria swallowed tightly. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Evan shook his head quickly. "Don't apologize." "It's not," she didn't mean. He looked toward his daughter. "She's just excited. And kids say things." Aria understood what he wasn't saying. Kids say what they wish was true. Before Aria could respond, Evan's phone buzzed on the table. He glanced at it, and his jaw clenched. Aria noticed. "Who is it?" He flipped the phone over. "No one important." But Aria saw the name on the screen. Nora, Mia's mom. It flashed only for a second, but that was enough. Evan didn't pick it up. He didn't even look again. He just silenced the phone and shoved it into his pocket. Aria pretended she didn't notice. But inside, she was asking herself. Why would a mother call on the child's birthday if she never cared before? And why did Evan look like that call felt like a knife? By 4 p.m., the hotel staff wheeled in the last items. The 3-tier cake, glitter cannons, the neon backdrop, and the customized gift boxes. Aria watched Mia climb onto the plush sofa, eyes round, mouth open in awe. "This is the best birthday ever." Evan crouched down. "You think so, Peanut?" Mia nodded so fast her tiara nearly flew off. Aria felt her throat tighten again. The look on Evan's face. That mix of pride and heartbreak. It wasn't a look a pretend husband gives. It was the look of a man who had been drowning in guilt for years. And finally breathed. At 5 p.m., the guests started arriving, the kids from Mia's school. Aria hadn't expected so many. Or that they'd be dressed like they were stepping into a Hollywood party. One mother leaned in close to Evan. "Mr. Hale, the decorations are stunning. I had no idea Mia's mother was so young and beautiful." Aria nearly choked. Evan stepped in smoothly. "She's incredible." I'm lucky. Aria stared at him, startled. Lucky? Why would he say that so easily? But he didn't look at the mothers. He looked at Aria. Like the words weren't part of the act. Like he meant them. Her stomach twisted. Dangerously. Dinner time came. Mia sat in her tiny velvet chair, feet swinging as she licked frosting off her fingers. Evan and Aria set plates for the kids. But Aria noticed something strange. Every time she walked past him, Evan shifted, like he was distracted. Whenever she leaned near him, he stiffened, like he wasn't used to being so close to someone. Whenever their hands accidentally brushed, his breath hitched. Then at one point, while tying a balloon ribbon, Aria lost her balance. Evan caught her waist. Just for a second. But it felt like a lifetime. They both froze. His fingers were warm. Her breath locked. And the world. The music, the laughing kids, the clinking plates. All went silent. Aria looked up at him. He looked back. Too long. Too deeply. Like he was trying to memorize something he had no right to want. He gently let go. Careful, he murmured. Yeah, she whispered. Then everything changed. It happened during the birthday song. The parents gathered around. The candles flickered. Mia closed her eyes, ready to make a wish. Aria stood beside her. Evan stood behind both of them, smiling softly. Cameras came up. Lights flashed. And as Mia blew out the candles, someone barged into the suite. Someone wearing a designer coat. Expensive heels. Perfect hair twisted into a cold, sharp bun. A woman with eyes so similar to Mia's it was impossible to deny. Her voice sliced through the room. What is going on here? The entire party went silent. Mia froze. Aria stiffened. Evan's face turned pale. The woman glared at the scene, the decorations, the lavish setup, the crowd, and finally at Aria standing beside Mia. Then her eyes narrowed into ice. So this is it? She pointed at Aria with venom. This is the woman you replaced me with? Evan stepped forward instantly. Nora. You weren't invited. Nora's lips curled. Oh, I wasn't invited to my own daughter's birthday? That figures. Aria felt the temperature drop. Kids shrank behind each other. Parents grabbed their handbags, sensing drama. Evan's voice hardened. Nora, please leave. Not here. Not today. Oh, don't act righteous, she snapped. You think throwing money at a fancy party makes you a good father? Evan's jaw locked. Aria stepped forward. Please lower your voice. The kids are. Nora shot her a glare sharp enough to cut steel. You stay out of this, she hissed. Whoever you are. Aria stiffened. Evan moved protectively between them. Mia doesn't need this. She was having a good day. Don't ruin it. Nora's voice lowered to a lethal whisper. She's my daughter. And starting today, I want full custody back. Aria's heart dropped. Evan's breath stopped. And Mia burst into terrified tears. Daddy? Mommy? Please don't fight. Mommy. She said it again. But this time, the word didn't feel cute or accidental. It felt like the spark that lit an explosion. Nora's eyes widened, burning with fury. You let her call this woman, this stranger, her mother? She turned slowly toward Aria. Unblinking. Poisoned. Deadly. You have no idea what you've stepped into. Aria's stomach twisted. Because she could tell. This wasn't just a bad moment. This was the beginning of a war. Evan stood frozen. The kind of frozen where breath doesn't move, thoughts don't form, and the world shrinks to one single terrifying reality. Nora was back. And she wasn't leaving empty-handed. Aria felt that same fear radiating off him, silent, heavy, suffocating. The kids' birthday chatter had stopped completely. Every parent was awkwardly pretending to check their phone. No one dared breathe. But Nora? She thrived in the tension. Her heels clicked once against the marble floor as she stepped deeper into the suite, eyes still locked on Aria like she was soil beneath her shoe. Mia sobbed harder. "Mommy. Daddy, please don't." Aria crouched and pulled Mia close, smoothing her hair. "It's okay, sweetheart," Aria whispered. "You're safe." Nora's face twisted. "Don't touch her." Aria didn't move her arms. She didn't flinch. She didn't let go. And that, just that, turned Nora volcanic. "You think playing dress-up in some rented suite makes you her mother?" she snapped. "You think wearing a fake ring and pretending to be some perfect little family makes you anything but a desperate?" "Stop." Evan's voice cut in like steel. Everyone turned. Aria had never heard him speak like that. Not loud. Not aggressive. But deadly calm. The calm of a man who had been quiet his whole life and had finally run out of patience. "You can insult me. You can hate me," he said. "But don't talk to her like that." Nora's eyebrows shot up. "Oh? Now you defend another woman? What happened to the Evan who begged me for attention? Who begged me to stay home? Who begged me not to leave?" Aria swallowed. Evan didn't deny it. Because it was true. He had been a man who begged. A man who had lived with humiliation as his normal. But he wasn't that man anymore. Not in this room. Not with Mia crying behind him. Not with Aria near enough that he could feel her courage straight through the air. "My daughter deserves peace," Evan said. "You're not giving it to her." Nora laughed, a brutal, mocking sound. "Oh, please. You're so easy to read. You're scared. Scared because you know I can take her." Evan's eyes darkened. "I know you abandoned her. And?" The word slapped the room. Nora shrugged like she was talking about a coffee she didn't like. "I needed time. Space. I needed freedom." "So what?" Aria gasped quietly. Nora's voice sharpened. "Sometimes a woman just wants her life back. Motherhood isn't for everyone." Mia heard that. Aria felt the little girl's body shrink into her. Evan stepped forward, fists trembling at his sides. "You walked out. You didn't call. You didn't write. You didn't even send her a birthday message last year." Nora smirked. "Because I didn't want to." Aria felt something twist inside her. Not anger. Not disgust. But heartbreak. For a child who deserved so much more. For a father who had been fighting alone. For a mother who threw away a miracle and didn't even regret it. Then Nora turned to the door and snapped her fingers. A man in a navy suit walked in, holding a briefcase. Aria recognized it before he even opened it. "Legal papers. Custody papers. My lawyer will be filing these tomorrow morning," Nora said, smoothing her coat. "I want full custody. And I will get it." Evan paled. "Nora, don't do this." "Already done." She glanced at Aria again. "And as for you, I suggest you remove yourself from this picture. Quickly." Aria felt heat rise to her face. Shame. Anger. Protective instinct. "I'm not hurting anyone," she said quietly. "You're hurting me," Nora spat. "That isn't the same thing." Nora's eyes narrowed. "Stay out of this. You don't know what you're stepping into." Aria stood up slowly. And when she spoke, her voice didn't shake. "I know you're hurting your daughter." For a moment, just one tiny flicker, Nora looked stunned. Because no one ever talked back to her. No one ever looked her in the eye. No one ever said the truth out loud. But Aria wasn't done. "I don't know what happened in your life," Aria continued softly. "I don't know why you left. But I know this, Mia doesn't need a mother who shows up only when she wants control. She needs a mother who shows up because she loves her. The room was silent. Every parent watched. Every child held their breath. Nora blinked. And blinked again. Then she laughed, a cold, ugly laugh. You think you're her mother now? After 1 week? No, Aria said. But I've shown her more love in 1 week than you have in 3 years. Evan didn't breathe. The lawyer didn't move. Mia clutched Aria harder. And Nora? Her face cracked. Not broken. Not defeated. Just cracked with something Aria didn't expect. Jealousy. You think you know anything about me? Nora hissed. You think you know what I've been through? You don't have a clue. Then tell us, Evan said suddenly. Tell us why you're really here. Nora froze. Aria watched her expression shift, anger first, then frustration, then something sharper, heavier, more dangerous. And then? Fine, she snapped. You want the truth? She threw her purse onto the table. I'm broke. The parents around the room gasped quietly. Nora didn't care. I'm broke, she repeated. My business went under. My rent is overdue. I don't have $1 to my name. So guess what? I need money. And courts love giving custody to mothers. Especially ones who cry. Evan felt sick. Aria felt fire. You're using your daughter for money? Aria whispered. Why not? Nora shrugged. She's the only valuable thing I still have. Mia whimpered. Aria's heart shattered. Evan's hands curled into fists. But Nora wasn't finished. You think this little party impresses me? She sneered. You think it scares me? You've forgotten one thing, Evan. She leaned in close, her voice dropping to a lethal whisper. Courts don't care about who loved the kid. They care who birthed the kid. And that's me. Evan swallowed, chest heaving. Aria stepped closer to him, instinctively protective. Nora noticed. Oh look, she smirked. Your little pretend wife thinks she can fight me. Cute. Aria met her glare. I'm not pretending anymore. Silence. Evan's head snapped toward her. Nora blinked in shock. Aria didn't break eye contact. I may not be her mother, she said softly. But I will fight for her. Something unreadable flickered in Evan's eyes. Nora tilted her head, calculating. Then she grabbed her purse. This isn't over, she said. Tomorrow morning, I'll make sure this little fantasy family gets torn apart piece by piece. She turned to her lawyer. We're leaving. The door slammed. And with it, the room exhaled. Mia burst into sobs. Evan dropped to his knees and held her tight. Aria knelt on the other side, wrapping her arms around both of them. The three of them clung together. A broken father. A terrified child. And a stranger who wasn't a stranger anymore. In that embrace. In that trembling, desperate circle. One truth echoed louder than fear. They were a family now, whether the world approved or not. And tomorrow, the war would begin. The suite was almost silent after Nora left. Almost. Except for the tiny, heartbreaking sound of Mia's sobs against Evan's shoulder. Aria sat beside them on the floor, her hand resting on the little girl's back, rubbing gentle circles the way she'd seen mothers do in grocery stores, in parks, in cafes. Motions she'd always admired from a distance. But now she found she could do them too. Mia eventually cried herself quiet, though she didn't sleep. Just stared blankly at the half-melted candles on her untouched cake. Her birthday cake. A day that was supposed to be magical. Evan swallowed hard. I ruined it, he whispered to Aria. I tried so hard. I wanted this day to be perfect. But she ruined everything. Aria shook her head. You didn't ruin anything. Mia felt loved today. That's what she'll remember. He looked at his daughter, small, trembling, but safe in their arms. She wasn't smiling. But she wasn't alone either. Aria touched Evan's arm. You did everything a good father would do. He didn't answer. He couldn't. The weight on his chest was too heavy. When Mia finally drifted off on the couch, her little hand still clutching Aria's sleeve, Evan covered her with a blanket. Then he stood there. Quiet, frozen, staring at the girl he'd raised alone for years. Aria stepped beside him. She called me mommy again, she said softly. She must really be scared. Evan swallowed. She's scared because she knows what Nora is capable of. Aria turned to him. Tell me, she whispered. Tell me what she's done. For the first time that night, Evan looked tired. Not physically, but tired in the bones. In the places no one sees. She left when Mia was 2, he began. Walked out one morning while I was at work. Took her clothes, her jewelry, her suitcases, didn't even leave a note. Aria's breath caught. She didn't love me, Evan continued, voice hollow. But worse, she didn't love Mia. She used to complain that having a baby ruined her life. That she deserved to be free from responsibility. He laughed bitterly. The kind of laugh people make when they're remembering pain, not humor. I begged her to come back. Not for me. For Mia. I begged until my voice broke. Until I had nothing left. Aria stared at him, her heart aching. Why didn't you fight her legally then? Aria asked. He looked away. Because I was a nobody. No savings. No lawyers. No stable home. I thought if I pushed too hard, she'd take Mia out of spite. And now? Evan exhaled shakily. Now she wants money. His voice dropped lower. I'm not rich, Aria. I work a regular job at that mall. I don't have the kind of money she thinks I do. Aria frowned. Then why is she so obsessed? Evan hesitated. Then he pulled out his phone and opened a message. One Aria sensed he'd been hiding all day. A message from Nora. A picture. Of Evan. And Aria. Holding hands in the mall elevator 2 days ago. Aria froze. What? How? She's been following me, Evan whispered. She knows about you. Aria felt the blood drain from her face. But why? She breathed. Why would she care who you're with if she doesn't even want to be a mother? Evan's jaw tightened. Because she knows judges look at stability. And she knows that having you in the picture makes our home look stable. Strong. Healthy. She hates that. Aria's heart hammered. So she's trying to break us before the court ever sees us. Evan nodded once. She'll do anything to take Mia. Anything. Aria put a hand on his chest without thinking. Then she won't succeed. He looked at her, really looked at her. As if her words were the first hope he'd had in years. Later that night, when Mia was sound asleep on the sofa bed, Evan and Aria sat on the balcony. City lights glittered below. The wind carried the faint sounds of traffic. But between them, the air was thick with unspoken fear. And something else. Something warm. Something dangerous. Aria, Evan said quietly, you don't have to stay involved. My problems aren't yours. She turned sharply. I'm already involved, she said. And I'm not leaving. He stared at her hands folded in her lap. Her fingers were trembling. Are you scared? He asked. Yes, she admitted. But not for me. He inhaled deeply, like her honesty hit him straight in the chest. Aria looked away, toward the city, the blurred headlights on the streets far below. I didn't grow up with a family, she whispered. Not really. My mom passed away when I was young. My dad was always working. Birthdays were lonely. Evan listened silently. But today, Aria continued, just being here, watching Mia light up, it made me feel like this is what a family could be. He swallowed hard. Aria. She shook her head. I'm not Mia's mother. I know that. But I've never felt more protective of anyone in my life. I'd fight for her. I'd fight for you both. This time, Evan didn't hide the way his breath caught. He reached out. Slowly. Almost afraid to touch her. And then, he took her hand. Warm. Steady. Fingers intertwining like it wasn't their first time. The world went silent around them. Just the two of them on that balcony, under the dim city glow, holding on to something neither of them expected but both desperately needed. If Nora takes her away, Evan whispered, voice breaking, I won't survive it. Aria squeezed his hand. She won't, she said with certainty. Not while I'm here. Evan closed his eyes for a moment. He wasn't used to being fought for. He wasn't used to being believed. But Aria. She made him feel like he mattered. Like he wasn't alone. Like maybe, just maybe, he deserved love too. Suddenly, his phone lit up again. Aria leaned in. Another message from Nora. A photo attachment. Evan hesitated, then opened it. Aria gasped. It was a picture of the three of them. Evan, Aria, and Mia. Huddled together during Mia's crying spell earlier. Taken through the hotel window. Someone was watching them. Aria's stomach turned. That's not just following, she whispered. That's stalking. Evan's hand shook as he read the text under the photo. Enjoy your last night with her. Tomorrow, everything changes. Aria felt the fear slam into her chest. Not just for Evan. Not just for Mia. But for herself, too. Because Nora wasn't unstable. She was dangerous. Aria looked at Evan. We're not waiting till tomorrow. We need help. A lawyer. Someone who can fight this. Evan looked defeated. I can't afford. I can, Aria cut in. He stared at her. Shock. Guilt. Hope. Aria squeezed his hand harder. You're not doing this alone anymore. Evan exhaled shakily and rested his forehead against hers. Not kissing. Not crossing lines. Just leaning. Needing. Trusting. Two broken people holding each other up in the quietest moment of their lives. Inside, Mia whimpered in her sleep. Aria broke the moment first. She stood and walked inside, brushing strands of hair from Mia's forehead, whispering soothing words. Evan watched her from the doorway. This woman who had walked into their lives by accident. And somehow become the one thing holding them together. And he realized something with absolute clarity. He wasn't pretending anymore. Not about needing her. Not about trusting her. Not about the way his heart clenched every time she touched his daughter. Or him. Tomorrow, Nora would come with lawyers, threats, and chaos. But tonight, they were still a family. And Evan prayed with everything in him. That Aria would still choose them when morning came. Morning came too fast. Aria barely slept. Evan didn't sleep at all. And Mia? She woke up clinging to Aria's arm like a lifeline. Do I have to go with Mommy Nora today? She whispered. Aria's chest tightened. No, sweetheart, she whispered back. You're staying with us. Evan watched them from the kitchenette. Aria holding his daughter. His daughter holding Aria. Two people he couldn't imagine losing. Two people Nora wanted to rip away. He set a plate of pancakes on the table with trembling hands. Eat something, Aria urged him gently. He shook his head. I can't. She came to his side, placed a hand on his arm. Evan, you need strength today. His eyes lifted to hers, full of fear, guilt, hope, and exhaustion all knotted into one expression. Aria, what if we lose? She squeezed his arm. Then we fight harder. But we are not losing today. He stared at her like she was the only solid thing in a world sinking around him. At 10 a.m., the lawyer Aria hired. A sharp, calm, competent woman named Miss Porter. Met them in the hotel lobby. No nonsense. No fear. Just immediate direction. I've reviewed everything you sent me, including the photos, the threats, and the history, she said. Legally, you have a strong case. Evan shook his head nervously. Nora has power. She knows how to manipulate. I've seen her lie without blinking. Miss Porter smiled slightly. Let her try. Judges don't trust dramatics. They trust stability. She glanced at Aria. And you two look extremely stable. Aria flushed slightly. Evan almost choked. It's not, we're not really, he stammered. Miss Porter held up a hand. I don't need romance. I need truth. And the truth is, she has been supporting your child emotionally and physically. That is powerful in court. Aria and Evan exchanged a long look. A look filled with tension. With vulnerability. With something deeper they still hadn't dared to name. Let's go, Miss Porter said. Nora is already there. The courthouse felt cold. Not temperature cold. Soul cold. Children shouldn't be dragged into buildings like this for battles they never asked for. Parents shouldn't weaponize love or biology. But Nora? She sat in the hallway waiting for them. Heels crossed, lipstick flawless. A cold smirk frozen on her face. And beside her, her lawyer. Aria didn't like him instantly. Too polished. Too confident. The kind of man who believed money and birth certificates mattered more than love. Nora stood when she saw them approach. Oh look, she cooed with poisoned sweetness, the fake wife and the desperate father. Evan tensed. Aria stepped forward before he could speak. Good morning, Nora. The politeness was sharp. Precise. A blade wrapped in silk. Nora's smile flickered. Miss Porter stepped between them like a shield. We'll be civil inside, she said calmly. Or the judge will hold the disruptive party in contempt. Nora raised an eyebrow. Good thing I'm never disruptive. Aria almost laughed. Almost. But then Mia whispered. Daddy, can I sit with you? Aria bent down. Sweetheart, you're going to sit with both of us. We're right here. Nora's eyes narrowed at the word both. Her lawyer leaned toward her. Remember. Don't lose your temper. Judges hate outbursts. Nora inhaled sharply, forcing a stiff smile. But her eyes? They were burning. Inside the courtroom, everything felt heavy. Evan sat with Mia between him and Aria, their hands intertwined under the table. Nora sat across the aisle, legs crossed aggressively, her gaze locked on Mia like she was property. The judge entered. Everyone stood. The room went silent. Cases like this always carried a certain electricity. The kind that came from deciding the fate of a child. Case of Nora Hale versus Evan Hale. Custody hearing. Aria felt Evan stiffen beside her. The judge glanced between both parties. State your positions. Nora's lawyer stood smoothly. Your Honor, my client, Mia's biological mother, seeks full custody. She is ready to resume her responsibilities and provide her daughter with a stable home. Aria almost scoffed at the word stable. Evan's hands tightened. This was it. But then Miss Porter stood. Our position is simple, Your Honor, the mother abandoned the child for 3 years. No contact. No support. No presence. The father has been the sole caretaker. The child is thriving under his care. She paused. And the mother has recently demonstrated hostile, manipulative, and potentially dangerous behavior, including stalking and photographing the family through windows. Nora shot up. That is a lie. Sit down, her lawyer hissed. The judge raised an eyebrow. Ms. Hale, interruptions will not be tolerated. Nora dropped back into her seat, seething. Let's hear from the father, the judge said. Evan stood. His voice shook. His hands shook. But his words didn't. Your Honor. I'm not perfect. I've struggled. But I have never once abandoned my daughter. She is my entire world. I work every day to give her stability, love, safety, and a home. He swallowed hard, looking at Mia. She deserves consistency. She deserves parents who don't disappear when life gets hard. His eyes lifted to the judge. And I'm terrified every day that someone who didn't want her yesterday will take her away tomorrow. Aria felt tears sting her eyes. He wasn't performing. He wasn't acting. He was speaking straight from the shattered, vulnerable core of a father who had raised his daughter alone through storms no one else had seen. The judge studied him quietly. Then, I'd like to hear from Ms. Aria. Aria froze. She hadn't expected that. Evan turned to her, panic flooding his eyes. You don't have to, he whispered. I want to, she said softly. She stood. And her voice, though quiet, carried. Your Honor. I am not Mia's mother, she began. I am not trying to replace anyone. Nora smirked. But Aria didn't look at her. She looked at the judge. What I am, is someone who loves this child. Someone who has seen firsthand how deeply her father loves her. Someone who has watched him work himself to exhaustion to make sure she never feels abandoned again. Evan blinked rapidly, fighting emotion. Aria went on, stronger. Mia feels safe with him. She smiles with him. She sleeps peacefully with him close by. I've never seen a father more devoted. Nora rolled her eyes dramatically. Aria continued anyway. And as for the mother, she finally turned toward Nora. She didn't come back for love. She came back for money. The courtroom stiffened. Nora's face turned white-hot in rage. She told us herself, Aria added calmly. She said she needed money. She said Mia was the only valuable thing she had left. Her words, not ours. The judge stared at Nora. Nora Hale, is this true? Nora's jaw clenched. She opened her mouth. Rage first, lies forming behind them. But her lawyer grabbed her arm, stopping her. That was her mistake. Because the judge saw it. He saw everything. I will speak with the child privately, the judge said. Bring her to chambers. Evan's heart dropped. Aria touched his knee under the table. It's okay. She'll tell the truth. But Evan looked like a man being led to execution. Mia walked with the court officer while the adults waited outside, breath held, nerves electrified. Minutes felt like hours. Evan paced. Aria reached for his hand. He didn't hesitate this time. He held on to her like she was the only thing keeping him from collapsing. Then the door finally opened. Mia walked out, quiet, calm, holding a tissue. The judge came out moments later. Everyone stood. He cleared his throat. I have made my decision. Aria's heart pounded. Evan's fingers tightened around hers. Nora leaned forward. Hungry, desperate, furious. Mia will remain with. The judge paused. Evan stopped breathing. Aria squeezed his hand. Nora's nails dug into her designer purse. Her father. Evan fell back into his seat, covering his face as emotion tore through him. Aria gasped in relief. Mia ran straight into her father's arms. And then the judge added something none of them expected. And the court encourages continued involvement of Ms. Aria, who appears to be a stabilizing presence in the child's life. Aria froze. Evan looked up at her, stunned. Like the universe had just confirmed something he didn't have the courage to say. But before they could speak, Nora screamed. A sound so furious, so unhinged, so heartbreakingly defeated. that even the bailiff flinched. "This isn't over," she shrieked. "You'll regret this. Both of you." Her lawyer tried to restrain her, but she lunged toward Aria, and Evan stepped between them like a shield. "Don't come near her," he snapped. Nora stumbled, glared, and finally stormed out of the courtroom, heels hitting the floor like gunshots. The door slammed behind her. Silence fell. And in that silence, Evan turned to Aria. His voice was barely a whisper. "You saved us." Aria shook her head. "No. We saved each other." He cupped her face with trembling hands. And for a moment, a long, breathless moment, they leaned in close. Closer. Their lips inches apart. Then Mia tugged on Aria's sleeve. "You're staying with us, right?" Evan and Aria both froze. Their eyes met. Every unspoken truth hanging in the air. Aria brushed Mia's hair. "Yes, sweetheart," she whispered. "I'm not going anywhere."